Hello, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I am really excited about this one. In this video, I am gonna walk you through my entire planning process, both for my life and my goals from start to finish. We are rounding the corner of the new month. The day I'm kicking this video off is October 28th. And so I wanted to bring you along and tell you about my whole planning process. This is a question I get asked a lot, is how do you plan out your personal goals, your business goals? How does all of that work? So I thought I would do a plan with me, but a little bit different. In this video, I also want to give you a review and share my thoughts so far on the HB90 planning system. I've also gotten a lot of questions about that. If you've never heard of it, HB90 is a project planning, goal planning system created by Sarah from Heart Breathings here on YouTube, and I'll leave everything linked down below. I started using it in like May, and don't worry, we will go in depth into the background, what I did, what didn't work when I first started using it, what's working for me now, and all of my thoughts. I did hesitate a little bit on whether I was going to share my thoughts on HB90 because it's still new. It still feels new to me, and I know that there are likely still going to be things about the process and thoughts that I have on it that are going to change. But then I remembered that that is always going to be the case. Planning systems, goal systems are always in a state of flow and change. And I'm always going to be making updates and making improvements, and no system is going to stay the same way forever. So while we're here, because this video is going to go live just a couple of days before you can sign up for the next round of the course, for her course, the HB90 course, I wanted to get this video made in the state that my process is in right now. Step one to my entire planning process is by Google Cal. I am a pen and paper girl at heart. I love writing things down. But a few years ago, I started using Google Cal as a way to supplement my paper planning, and it has made a massive difference in my process. There are three main reasons that I like using a digital calendar. Number one is it allows me to put in recurring tasks so I won't forget about them. Whether it's something personal like dyeing my hair every month or something business related like the weekly live chats, I'm able to keep recurring tasks in there at all times so I don't forget about them. The second reason is I can put things out as far as they need to be without it disrupting my current planning system. I change my planners a lot. I don't like writing things down on paper until we get way closer to the actual date. Even when I was not using a digital tool, I was still sticking those kinds of far out scheduled things on sticky notes, but I really like being able to put them in my digital calendar. And the third, and likely the most important thing for me in using a digital calendar, is it allows me to get really realistic on how I spend my time and where my time is going, but while still having the flexibility to move things around and play and try different setups. I love being able to map out, this is how long I think things are gonna take, here's where it's gonna fit in my day, in my week, in my month, and being able to mess with that digitally has made a massive difference in my life and in my goals. So in this video, we are gonna be setting up all of November and obviously next week, but here is a snapshot of what my Google Cal looks like before I have touched it at the beginning of a month. So everything you see in there right now are recurring tasks or recurring events, things that happen every single week. Some things are things that have been scheduled, like that flight, and then some things get pulled in automatically, like football games. All right, the natural light doesn't want to cooperate with me today, but this is the time that we're making this video because this is the time I need to set up my new month, so we are gonna power through. So the next step in my planning process, the Google Cal is the foundation. The next step is my quarterly goals. And obviously, because we're not transitioning into a new quarter, I'm not going to be going through this entire process today, but it is part of my planning process. So I wanted to include it in this video and then also use this section as an opportunity to talk a little bit more about the HB90, like my background with the HB90 system. So as far as my quarterly setup goes, there are two pieces. There are personal goals and business goals. You've heard me talk before about updating my personal goals on a quarterly basis. I do a quarterly goals video every quarter here on YouTube and share with you my personal quarterly goals. So that's part of the process, is checking in and updating my personal goals. Then we have my business goals, and let's talk a little bit about the HB90 background before I talk about my business goal quarterly process. So I had been following Sarah here on YouTube and on Instagram for a number of years, but I always thought that her system, the HB90 system, was really just geared towards authors, and that was her original creation, is the business of being an author, and that she created a tool that she needed to use as an author. So it wasn't until Cindy, who I've talked about before, I love her channel too, started using the HB90 system for her business goals. And she is, well, she does have books, but that is not the main piece of her business, is being an author. And I was like, well, if she can tweak the system to use for her business goals, I probably could as well. And I tried a lot of different methods of setting up my business goals. I tried doing them the same way I did my personal goals. I tried a separate planner. I tried some like online project management tools. And after about 6 months of working for myself full time and really still feeling very lost in terms of business goal setting and business project management, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give the HB90 system a try. However, the dates for the next course weren't gonna line up with my life. I wasn't gonna be able to work on them that week. Now, in retrospect, I would have still signed up and done it a different week. Like I would have just signed up for the course and been able to watch the videos at a later date. But I was under the impression that the best setup for me would be to do the course when I could actually dedicate the week that she has set aside for the course to work on it. So I said, I'm just gonna buy the planner and I'm gonna try it myself. So that is what I did. And like any system, the creator of that system made it that way for a reason. And I went into it thinking like, I'm gonna use pieces of it, but I'm gonna tweak this, I'm gonna tweak that. And without knowing why she set it up the way that she did, or even really trying it her way, I was already trying to make changes to the system. And while it did work a little bit, like having that structure, June, July, August, September, did work to some extent, it wasn't the best. It still didn't feel like it was solving all of my problems. So then September rolled around and I enrolled in the course and I learned so much. I don't even have words to describe how many takeaways I had, not even necessarily just from the system, but just mindset things and little tidbits of information that were incredibly helpful. But most importantly, the system, how the system works, why she set it up that way, and how all the pieces of it work together. Because what I was trying to do was have like my annual goals, and then I didn't want to set up things quarterly. That is the summary of this section. I didn't want quarterly business goals. I just wanted to set like have monthly actions lead me towards this overall annual vision. And most of that was coming from the fact that I didn't want to plan projects more than a month out. And I still, you'll see how I use the system, I still give myself a lot of flexibility to change it on a month-to-month basis, but I am planning it quarterly now. And that is a lot due to what I learned from Sarah in the actual course. Now, as of the time I'm filming this video, it has been about a month since I have been following the system the way that she created it. And so it makes it really hard for me to like jump in and be like 100% it works, because I don't know if I'm gonna hit my quarterly goals that I set, because we're only 1/4 of the way through. But what I will tell you is that she has you set quarterly goals at 3 levels. She has you pick, first off, she has you pick numerical goals, which, if you know me, I am very much not a numerical goal person. I feel like there can be a lot of pros, but there can also be a lot of cons to numerical goals. However, she explains in the course the mindset behind them and why she recommends them, especially for business related goals. And so I set quarterly numerical goals for the business. I have 3, and based on her recommendation, I have 3 different tiers. So I have a good, better, and best. And as of the time that I'm filming this video, I have hit the good level for all 3 goals and like I'm on my way for the next one. Now, that doesn't mean I'm gonna hit the best level by the end of the quarter, but it does mean that something is working. So that is a little bit of the background. And in terms of how it fits into my planning process, I am gonna continue to follow the system and set up quarterly business goals based on the HB90 system. And what I will say in terms of a recommendation is to take the course. Don't just buy the planner. If you are interested in trying out the system, take the course, don't just buy the planner. I also always get like, can I make this work for this specific business, this business, that business? 100%, you can make it work for whatever business or side hustle or like work related goal that you are trying to achieve. I think you can absolutely make it work for you. As of right now, I have not tried it for personal goals, and I do still think to some extent it probably is still a little much for personal goals. Now, she does make it work and she does use it for her personal goals as well. But unless your personal goals are very project-based, and I'm gonna show you some of my planner pages and you're gonna see how project-based this goal setting system is. So unless your personal goals are a lot of project-based, then it probably isn't the best fit just for personal goals. But for business goals, it is 100% working for me. All right, the next step in my planning process is monthly. So on a monthly basis, just like quarterly, we've got to do personal and business. So from a personal goal standpoint, I share that on YouTube as well. I update my personal goals. The piece of it that is the planning side of it is actually taking the action steps from my personal goals from my goal planner and making sure that they are in my Google Cal. So I will go through and add in events for the entire month for all of my personal goal action items. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna change my mind on a weekly basis and maybe move things around if I don't get it done, or I move it up if I wanna do it earlier, but I at least make an estimate based on what I know now about my month when I can fit in all of my personal goal action steps and add those into my Google Cal. All right, moving into talking about business goals on a monthly basis. So again, this is the first time I'm really officially doing this kind of setup. Some of this I have been doing in some capacity since May, but this is the first time that I'm really going from, I made a quarterly plan for my business goals. I set up October, I executed. For the most part, I feel pretty good about October, and now we're gonna update it for November. And as part of this process, I'm gonna show you my actual HB90 planner. Now again, the planner itself you can buy without buying the course. If you buy the course, you do get that quarter's planner as part of the course, and it's a printable digital planner. She gives it to you both in A5 and in letter size. For simplicity, I'm just using the letter size that I print out, hole punch, and put into a 3-ring binder. For now, I really like the flexibility that this offers me and being able to move things around. Y'all know I love a coil, and there is one page in here that I will like take out and keep in the front because that's the one I want to look at all the time, that I would, if I had it on a coil, that's what I would keep it open to. But for now, this system is working for me. So the first page is my vision board. She encourages you to create a vision board every quarter. I don't know that I will do that next year, or if I'll just do one for the year, but I like having this as like the first page. It's the first thing that I see. Now I'm also using sticky notes as like dividers in this planner. Maybe someday I will actually get like actual binder dividers, but for right now, this is working. So the first like section here is the calendar section, which is like the time blocking, which I have to say, thinking about how much time you actually have to work on things is absolutely changed my life in a lot of ways. So not that I didn't do that before, but just the way that she describes it and being able to translate that to my business has been really helpful. So she has these pages where you map out your, basically how many blocks you have to work on your goals. Now again, I'm working on my business, so my goals are all gonna be kind of in the, you know, Monday through Friday weekday times. She talks about how if you have a 9-to-5 job and you're working on your business outside of that, I mean, your blocks would be elsewhere. So I had 3 different versions of this, one before dance ended, and then I'm actually part of another dance program that is ending on the 4th. So I had like dance program, both of them happening, just the one happening, and then when they're both over, what that will look like, and just kind of my week at a glance. Then she has you map out the entire quarter, which this is part of the process that made me feel a little bit overwhelmed, like how am I gonna be able to estimate things that far in advance? And I'm gonna show you kind of how I deal with that. So this is like the quarterly plan. So this is the base, and then what changes, right? I'm gonna be out of town, I'm not working because my family's in town, taking off for the holidays. These are the weekend days that I work when I have Patreon calls on the weekends, and etc. So based on what I know right now, like when I set this up mid-September, this is what the quarter looked like. But I like to, as we zoom in, right, as with anything, the further out you are, the less you know, and the more that you're guessing and estimating. So as we zoom in, I like to be able to update this page. So I not only have my quarterly plan that I did at the beginning of the quarter, but then I have a monthly update. Now, obviously, October looked exactly the same because I did it at the same time. And when I made the quarterly plan and then I did October, it looked exactly the same. But now we are gonna do November, and I'm gonna update this page for November, and I have a feeling it's gonna look different than this. In fact, I know it's gonna be different because I've already made some changes like in my mind about what I know what works and what doesn't work. So the way that I'm gonna do this to get my updated numbers for November is I'm gonna go back into my Google Cal, and I have created another calendar called Work Hours that has the 2-hour blocks for the Pomodoro technique already mapped out over the week. And I'm going to make adjustments based on what I know now and some of the things that I've learned just in this month alone. Like I have learned that I can't really do any serious work after the live on Wednesdays. I'm pretty tapped, so I could do a couple things, but I can't do as many blocks as I originally had planned afterwards. And then also knowing what my max capacity is, there's no way I'm getting through 16. Unless I have other calls, like I can work 8 hours if some of them are calls, but I can't do 16 straight time blocks of, not straight, but even with breaks, I can't do 16 time blocks of actual project work. My brain, I can't focus for that long. But then I also added some to Thursdays. That's how I know the numbers are gonna be different, and I'm excited to be able to update them for November. So going through my Google Cal and making all of those updates. The other thing, in case it's not clear from the setup, is that she has you think of the quarters and the months in like weeks and not worrying about it being the first of the month or the last of the month, right? So like my November is starting on October 31st and ending November 27th. And then my December happens to have 5 weeks. That's like where it splits and where it makes sense for me. But like the quarter doesn't have to line up exactly perfectly. That's been really helpful for me too. So now what I'm gonna go do, I have my Google Cal here. Based on the updates that I just made, I'm gonna go through and fill in all of the time blocks that I have planned for November based on what I know right now. Okay, so at the end of all of that, my total number for November now is 162, when originally when I planned it was 148. That's partially because I adjusted some things, and then I am gonna work the 7th and 8th when we're in Houston, just a little bit less than normal, but I'm gonna work from my mother-in-law's. All right, before we go into the next step of this, let me show you some of the other pages. So this next sticky note that's like on the side, they have different meanings whether on the side or the top, is my actual goals. I'm not gonna show you those because those are, like I said, they're numerical goals, and so those are private. So I'm not gonna share with you the actual goals, but it's the goals page with my goals. Then we're gonna flip to this sticky note, which is the reflection section. So I did print out, she's got these reflection pages, one for every week. And I did print out one for every week in October. And I filled them out 0. So that was a good job on my part. And then I did also print out the October in review pages. I am gonna go ahead and do these. Actually, I'm gonna take them out. And before we move into like the rest of setting up November, I am gonna do this October reflection. So then the sticky notes at the top are for my 4 goals, but the first one is really just recurring tasks. And then I have 3 other goals, and these are also color coordinated to my Kanban board, which is another piece of the system that I'll show you and talk about when we get there. But for now, we're still in the planning phases. So each of these, again, is for one of the different goals. So we're gonna start with the recurring tasks. So here was the plan that I made at the beginning of the quarter for the recurring tasks. I added in columns for each of the months, which I really like. So the first thing, I don't know why I wrote like the numbers at the top and at the bottom, but the first thing is updating the November number. From 148, we've got 162. To work with in November. So the next step I'm gonna do here is making sure these numbers, and you can see I already updated some of them. I did that like earlier in the month when I knew that these were gonna be wrong, but I'm gonna make sure that these are all like what I want them to be. The ones that I think that are gonna be different are Instagram, because I didn't get to this month's, so I'm gonna have to do that in the first week. But I think based on the calendar, I might also push off until that week anyway. So I think I actually will leave Instagram, and I'm gonna do November, but then I won't do December's yet. So I think actually these recurring numbers for November are fine with the adjustments that I made. So instead of it being 94, that's actually gonna be 96. So that leaves me with, I'm a math major, but actual math. So it leaves me with 66 total task blocks to split up between goals 1, 2, and 3. So the next thing that I'm gonna do, and I'm not gonna show you again each of these sections, but I'll show you the blank versions of what I've got. So in each of them, I've got one of these pages. So the project brainstorm page, I've got the goal at the top, and then very similar to this, I have it split up between October, November, December with all of the projects that I wanted to complete. And when I was planning to do them. And then I have these pages, it's either 1 or 2, depending on how many different projects there were. And I've got the name of the project. I didn't actually put the start and the end date because that's not super important to me. But then in this section, I've got all the steps listed out. And then if I didn't put the sticky notes for the Kanban board on October's, that's where they sit. That's where they're living. And I didn't actually show you. So this is the page that helps me think about what the recurring tasks are. And then this is my list of the recurring tasks that go on the Kanban board. And then I did make all the sticky notes for the whole quarter. I'm gonna have to update and change some things, but I have like a page for November and a page for December, so when I get to setting up the Kanban board. However, what I will do differently next year is I won't write the name of the month because that's a waste. I can reuse this page every quarter. I'm just gonna write like month 2 and month 3. I don't need one for month 1 because I just automatically put those sticky notes on the Kanban board. That might not make any sense right now, but when we get to it, I promise it will. So actually the first thing I'm gonna do is pull down the sticky notes that I didn't get to in October. I'm saying that, and there's like a duplicate here, which I understand because we're gonna push these to December. So I'm actually just gonna go and put them here. There we go. Okay. And that's it for recurring. Most of the recurring stuff gets done, right? That's the kind of stuff in my business that has to get done. It's the other 3 things that don't always get done. So the first thing I'm gonna do is go through each of my 3 projects, or goals, my 3 goals, and pull down the sticky notes from my Kanban board that did not get done in October. And really, there's not that many. I mean, I am pretty impressed with the stuff I got done in October, but I'm gonna start by pulling down the ones that didn't get done. Okay, so I went through, and I actually think what I would do, well, I don't know. I'm torn between whether I would leave these blank and not have, because I'm gonna have crossing off if I don't leave them blank, which is fine, because I know I'm not gonna get everything done, right? But there's one little task with goal 1 I didn't get, so I put 2 there. Couple things I didn't get to for goal 2, so I have 16, and that left me with 48 for goal 3. And I mapped out what are the projects I'm gonna work on to do that. So now I feel good. I think one of the things I was trying to do before I watched the course was I was trying to do the like quarterly process and make all the sticky notes and everything on a monthly basis. And I really do see the value in doing it at the beginning of the quarter and then just making tweaks to it on a monthly basis. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is set up my Kanban board. So let me show you that. So I've shown it a little bit in like various videos and talked about it, but this is my Kanban board. If you've never heard of it, the concept actually was started a long time ago in like a corporate setting for project management, and it has been tweaked by all kinds of people over the years. And the way that Sarah has talked about it is as both a visual aspect of the things that you're working on and the things that you've done, which honestly is like probably my favorite part of it. So she sets hers up on a quarterly basis. She does all of the sticky notes. Now you saw I made all the sticky notes for the whole quarter, but I'm only setting them up on a monthly basis. And part of that is because of space. And then part of that is I just like that fresh start on a monthly basis. So I got this plastic sand from Amazon. It's an 11 by 17 plastic sand. And then I just stuck washi, which is now coming off, on it. So this is my to-do section, which obviously is now blank because I just took all of there were obviously like 10 or so sticky notes left here that I didn't get to in October, and I moved those back into the planner. But this is the to-do, this is the currently doing, this is what we're doing right now, and this I will get to tomorrow after the goal setting session. So I have this split up by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then weekend, because I don't like to work both Saturday and Sunday. I will just work one, so whatever day it happens to be that weekend. And then look at the beautiful done section. It makes me so happy. But now we're gonna take them off and we're gonna put on the next ones. Now, the thing I'm hesitating slightly because I am gonna put the ones that I think I'm gonna do next week here. Because it's the first one, I don't necessarily wanna put all of the week ones over here. Does that make sense? I guess it doesn't really matter. For the recurring ones where I know what days they're gonna go, I'll put them in here, but for the project ones, I'll put them over here. That's what I'm gonna do. All right, the Kanban board is all set up and I'm all ready for the entire month. Now we are going to do the weekly part. So I happen to be doing it the same day that I'm doing the monthly setup, but this is obviously something I do every single week. Sometimes I do it Friday, sometimes Saturday, sometimes Sunday. Sometimes when I'm really not on top of it, it's Monday morning, but I try to have it done before the start of the week. So what I will do first is go back to my calendar section, right? So we did the monthly update. The next step, yes, are you shocked? I have a page for a weekly update. And so I will go through, and obviously like this one is gonna be exactly the same, like because I know everything that there is to know about next week, or at least what I know right now, but I'm only gonna do just this 1 week. And then when I'm setting up next week, I will go through my Google Cal and make sure these numbers are still accurate. And if they're not, then I will change them. As you can see in October, like the numbers were different, except for the first week, the number was different every single week. So that is step 1. So I know I have 56 time blocks to work with next week. Then I go to this section, which is, these are my favorite pages. This is the page that makes me so productive during the week, and I absolutely love it. So what I'm gonna do now, I typically take like I do this on like a scrap sheet of paper first. So I've got 56. So I'm gonna go through the recurring tasks first. So which of the recurring tasks have to happen this week, and like how many blocks are those gonna take? So communication and admin every week, that is 6. And then lattes with Lakin is 4. And then prep videos is always 2. We're gonna do the newsletter this week. I usually do it the first Monday of the month, but October 31st is close enough. And then we're gonna do Instagram for November. And then I'm gonna do, so one of the reasons why I upped this to 6 is so that I can actually set aside time to plan as like part of my actual hours. So I'm gonna do 2 for that, and then education is at 4. And I think that's it. Okay, yeah, that's it for recurring. So that is 26. So that leaves me with 30 for the rest of them. So basically what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna flip back through all my project planning pages and plan out what are the tasks that I'm actually going to do that add up to those 30 task blocks. All right, so that is all planned out. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make the list on here, and I like to use the dot markers to like color code that goes like it matches the sticky notes. The only one that it's not like super good is the pink. The pink is not quite the same pink, but otherwise they're pretty darn close. And I just got this big pack of sticky notes from Amazon. I was using the smaller sticky notes, which I did like visually better, but they don't come in a big pack, and I'm using so many of them, and you have to use the Post-it brand or they fall off. So I upgraded to that one, and those are the colors that they came in. So let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these. I'm gonna have exactly the right amount of space that I need. So we just have 1 of these, just that one little task that I gotta finish up from last month. Wow, I really shouldn't talk and do this at the same time because I know I don't do as like neat of a job, but that is not the purpose. Okay, now the week is all set up, and so this is the one page that I will take out, and like I usually will just stick it in the plastic spot here, but I will throughout the week as I finish these things, right, I will check off the number of task blocks, mark how many they actually took, and then I've saved all of these from prior weeks. That way I can go back and reference them to learn like, okay, this is taking me more time than I thought or less time than I thought, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the next step is we're going back to digital. So I'm going to take these things and actually map them out in my Google Cal so I can get a sense of what can happen on what days based on how long things are going to take. Now, obviously, as you saw in the Google Cal, some of those things were already in there, like the live, prepping the videos, things I do all the time, and some of the things I am going to add in and schedule. So while I was working on that, I realized I had done the math wrong, and I have over allocated here. There's more here than I actually have time for next week, and I can't pretend that hasn't happened before. Like sometimes I just make mistakes. And so I realized that while I was putting into my Google Cal that I had, like, it wasn't fitting, and so I went back and did the math again, and I'm over allocated by 6. Now, on a regular week, I might like just let that fly and I could just play catch up on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I know that that's not gonna be the case because we leave Friday to go out of town. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna cut this one down to 4 and only plan to work on it partly this week, and then I will work on it more next week. And as you could see on the screen recording, it doesn't all fit perfectly, and that's not the purpose. And when we move into the next step, you'll see kind of how I translate that into not feeling like I'm nailed down to like doing this exact thing at this exact time. Again, the purpose of this was partially for some of those tasks have to happen in a certain order. So one of those things has to happen on Monday before another thing can happen on Tuesday. And then part of it was just to see where things fit throughout the week, and based on like my other things that I have going on, like, oh, it makes sense to batch reels on the same day that you're doing the live because you're gonna do your hair and makeup that day anyway. That is kind of the purpose of that planning. And then the last part of my weekly process, which you have seen me do this before, is my actual weekly plan. And this is just a layout that I created myself that works for me. And it may seem a little bit redundant for, like, I literally wrote down the tasks on the HB90 page, and then I have in my Google Cal, and then I'm also doing it here. But this is the system that works for me, and it really, truly has been working. And so I don't want to mess with it. Like, if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? And to me, a lot of this process I also enjoy. You can probably relate to that, right? Like, the enjoyment of planning. So I like going through all of this every week. And so I don't know, it works for me and I like it. So I don't feel like I need to make a change. I know some of you have suggested before just printing out the Google Cal, and that is an option, but I think there also is another big reason why writing it on here is better for me too, which we will talk about. We have talked about before, but we'll talk about it again when we get there. So starting with my routines, I just like being able to see my AM routine and my PM routine reminds me of all the things I am actually getting done. And I have talked about this in some vlogs, and you probably saw it on the Google Cal. I have split my AM routine up into 2 pieces where I do an hour of my morning routine and then I do work for 2 hours and then I go work out and get ready for the day. That is also really working for me. And so this is actually the first week I'm gonna actually represent that here. So the plan is my AM routine is from 6 to 7 every single day. And then I'm gonna put what I am planning to do from like in between. So like on Monday, it was prepping the videos and the newsletter. Now, I don't normally like to be like, you have to do this at 7 and you have to do this at 8. But I also know that picking the first task of the day is really beneficial because then I don't have to make that decision, right? 7 a.m. Lincoln is not trying to figure out what she's working on. So then I will put workout at 9, but really it's like 9 to 10:30. And then, so now I am actually gonna deviate a little bit from the Google Cal in the sense that what I had put in that 10:30 to 12 slot, if I feel like doing one of the later things in the day, I wanna be open to that. So the way I'm gonna configure this, I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna put, there's 3 other things I wanna do. So I have a one-on-one call at 12:15 and another one at 3:15. And then there's a total of 5 other like work tasks that I could do in any order the rest of the day, and I don't feel like they need to be tied down. So I'm trying to decide. I don't necessarily want to put them there because I don't want to look up and be like, you have to do them at that time, because you don't, because I don't. I can do them whenever. But I'm not gonna be able to fit 5 in between these 2 things, really. I could probably fit 4, and then maybe I'll just put communication afterwards. So yeah, let's do it that way. 1, 2, 3, 4. But obviously some of those are gonna happen here. I just don't wanna feel tied down to them. And then some of them will happen in between, and some of them, depending on how long they take, might even happen after that 3:15 call. So you have the event, work, font, Black Friday, the videos, and then communication. And then that's it that I have planned for Monday. I mean, it is Halloween, but we're celebrating this weekend. I don't anticipate celebrating Halloween on actual Halloween. Nobody trick-or-treats in our buildings here in New York. Okay, moving on to Tuesday. So on Tuesday, I'm gonna do kind of the same thing where I'm gonna go ahead and pick what is the one thing I'm gonna do in the morning, and then I'm gonna work out. I am writing workout individually each day instead of doing it with the highlighter because it's only Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Friday actually is gonna look different because of our flight. So then work out, and then after that, I've got 1, 2, 3, it looks like 4 things that I wanna work on. So I'm just gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then those will just take up, you know, the rest of the day. So we have Instagram, we have the rest of the event prep, we have communication and font. It's a lot of repetitiveness this week. And then I do have one one-on-one call, someone on the West Coast who is a teacher at 7:30 on Tuesday night. Okay, moving into Wednesday. So I think I said this in a vlog, but I'm not planning to work out on Wednesdays because after the live, like doing some hard project work is not working. And so I want those hours in the morning. So the only things that I really want to make sure that I do after the live are the recap and communication. And then I'm planning to use the rest of my Wednesdays as like errands and household things. Now, I don't have to go to the grocery store this week because we're leaving to go out of town. So that doesn't really make any sense, but I am still planning to clean. And then I might just do some like personal goals on Wednesday after the live. So then the rest of this is just things that need to get done before there's 1, 2, 3, 4 things. 1, 2, 3, 4 things. So we have the rest of Instagram. Okay. And that is everything for Wednesday. And then Thursday, I'm actually gonna rearrange a little bit from what I put on the Google Cal and do admin up here instead of where I originally had it as part of the silent co-working, but I think I want to put it there. So I'm gonna do admin here and font, and then I'm gonna work out. And then just like Tuesday, I have another 4 things for the rest of Thursday. So we have Black Friday part 2. And then actually that's the day this video goes live. I haven't figured out what I'm doing for Black Friday, obviously, but that is the day that this video goes live. Plan next week, which I want to do on Thursday because I know I'm going to be gone Friday. Communication, and then we do have the silent co-working at 2, which I'll just work on something during that time. And then that's it for Thursday. It's a pretty quiet week in the evening. And then on Friday, I am going to do my best. I can't remember exactly what time our flight is. I'm hoping to work out before we leave. If I don't get it in, it's not a big deal. And then at some point we fly to Houston, and I'm not gonna fill in the rest of the weekend because it's all personal stuff that we're gonna do while we're in Houston. So that is the last step of my weekly setup. I absolutely lied. There is one more piece of the weekly setup, and that is based on what I just did in Google, making sure the Kanban board is all set up. So I put some of the stuff here because I kind of knew what was gonna end up where, but I actually have a lot of stuff planned for Monday. I guess all of these sticky notes, that's one of the things of the problem. One of the problems is these sticky notes all kind of like show that they're gonna take the same amount of time, but they definitely do not. And so there's a lot of like 2-hour things on Monday. So normally I don't have that many sticky notes on one day. Okay, and then Tuesday we have this. This is gonna get carried over. And then same thing with the font, that's gonna get carried over. So that's part of it too, is some of these things will get carried over. This goes here, this goes here. And then admin, font. I didn't make sticky notes for planning the week because I feel like I just do that anyway. So now that is the last step of the weekly routine. All right, good morning. It is Monday, and before we jump into the daily part of my planning process, there is one more weekly thing that I have been doing that I didn't talk about because it is still something that I'm trying. It's still in what I would call experimental phase of being a part of my planning process, but it's been working for the last probably month or so. So I'm gonna do it for this week, and I'm gonna talk about it in this video, and that is setting up a weekly to-do list. Now, as it pertains to work, all of that stuff gets put on my calendar. Like it doesn't end up just on a to-do list unless it's something very small. But for personal stuff, especially shorter stuff, most of these things on this list are gonna be kind of shorter, quicker tasks. I needed a place to store them that wasn't on my weekly plan or like already in my daily planner. So I've been using one of the bazillion notebooks that I have. And what it started out originally as this, which I talked about in a plan with me. This is my like weekly, like every week I have to do these things on these days. Now, this is also outdated because dance is over. We can go ahead and cross off. I don't have to practice Monday, Tuesday, Thursday anymore because dance is over, but I'm not gonna like waste another page and make a new one of these because what I've been doing instead is using this as like a resource and making a fresh one every single week that has things that need to get done on specific days. And most of the time, this is the setup, right? This is what I do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then a weekend section. Because this week is unique, because we're going out of town, I'm actually going to set it up a little bit differently. I'm also going to try something, well, you can kind of see through there. Last week I did it differently too, because I wanted a Friday and a Saturday separate and not worry, because I was doing a lot of things on that Friday. So I actually did a weekend all to be lumped into one. And then this week we're going to do it differently again. So I am going to try kind of a general one for things that aren't specific to the days, which things are like that every single week. But what I've been trying to do is balance them out between the different days. So I'm not trying to do everything on one day. But then sometimes I feel unmotivated when I didn't get the things done on the day I said I was going to. Okay, there's 28 lines. So we're going to do 1, 2, 7. It's not going to give us, that's the other thing. I'm only going to draw the line on 1/2. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then one side is going to be the days of the week because I should not talk and do this at the same time. The days of the week because we're going out of town on Friday. So really the only days I'm like doing something here are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I'm gonna actually write them on the side here. It was weird to write those backwards. Okay. And then this side is gonna be just some general things that I haven't not figured out which day. And there's I go back and forth. There's pros and cons, right? Sometimes I do want to plan out, like we're talking personal things that I'm going to do here in the evenings or during breaks. And while I do think planning them out in advance would be beneficial, I also kind of like just having this as a reference point. So let's start with the day specific things. So on Monday, the communication, and then also I wrote communication on here too when I first made this, but you saw in the weekly plan with me, that's not it anymore. So Monday is plant and Calendly. This part's probably going to be kind of boring. It's literally going to be me transferring over the to-dos. Also, this is something I typically would have maybe considered doing last Friday when I was setting up my week, but I was already so kind of almost burnt out because I was doing all those other steps and filming it. I didn't have the energy to also do this. So then I probably wanted to do it yesterday, but it did not happen yesterday. I was resting a lot yesterday. So tomorrow is just fantasy. I'm not meal planning this week because I'm not going to Trader Joe's. Schedule the live and then set up my own fantasy. And then the weekend stuff is usually change the sheets, which I won't do until we get back. So that's actually, depending on what time our flight is Friday, maybe I'll do it on Friday morning before we leave. Well, no, that's actually not true. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud right now because we get home really late on Tuesday night. And let me know if you can relate. This is such a tangent. If I have clean sheets, I want to be a clean body getting into those clean sheets. And I don't always shower at night. And Sam rarely showers at night. But if we have clean sheets, I like we have to shower at night. But if we get home from the airport at 11 p.m. on Tuesday, we're not going to shower. So I will change the sheets next Wednesday. And then setting up Sam's goals, I'm not gonna worry about that. And then planning the week. I will probably want to make sure that I do that on Thursday. So then I have some other to-dos I wanna get down on here. And I will add things throughout the week. Like if I think today on Monday, there's something I wanna do on Wednesday, I'm gonna go ahead and add that. So one of the things that we need to get to this week that I actually don't know what day we're gonna do that is vote. That is probably the most important thing we're gonna do this week because we're gonna be gone on actual election day. But early voting has already started, so we will go sometime this week. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll put it here. I'm gonna do the pack list. This blue is almost too dark. Like I almost won't be able to check it off. I'll probably make the pack list Wednesday. It's very possible I also make it earlier in the week if I feel like it because I enjoy that process. And then actually packing on Thursday. And then there is someone I need to reach out to. I don't know that I need to do that. I'm not sure what day I need to reach out to somebody. And then I need to make a phone call about something else. And then there is one thing I need to do today, which is gonna look redundant, and then I'm writing it here and then I'm gonna switch and write it on my daily plan, but it is what it is. All right. So that is kind of the plan. Sometimes there's a lot of stuff, sometimes there's not a lot of stuff, but I will reference this throughout the week in my daily planner. Speaking of my daily planner, that is the next phase of my planning process is what happens on a daily basis. And you have seen some of this before. My typical plan with me's that I've done in the past have been where I set up this weekly page and then I set up every day for the week. And I am only planning to include one day for the sake of this video it's already probably very long, but I'm only gonna include one day, but I'm gonna plan the day and then I'm gonna show you at the end of today what this looks like, what the Kanban board looks like at the end of the day, and then like kind of wrap up the video. So let's go ahead and get today started. Also, this is the con of planning the week out really far in advance. I mean, really far, it was all 4 days ago, is today's plan is already not what's going to happen. And that's mostly just because I slept in. I should have known better. My struggle with Mondays, I love Mondays, I love a fresh start. Partly is I stayed up and watched some Sunday Night Football last night. That was part of the problem. But then the other part of the problem is when I stay out late on Saturdays and then I sleep in, I slept until like, I don't even know what time on Sunday, then falling asleep at my like regular time on Sunday night is basically impossible. So I know that they say you should go to bed at the same time on the weekends, but that's just not realistic for my life right now, okay? Sleep experts. So I got up at 8 today. That's where we're at. So I know for sure I'm not gonna get everything done that was on the plan today. So in the middle of my first part of my AM routine, and then I'm gonna still do these 2 tasks from 9 to 11. I'm gonna hope that they don't take me that full 2 hours, only because then I wanna be able to squeeze in my workout and whatnot before the call that I have at 12:15. It should be fine. I was just literally about to write the word call, and usually I like to write their name. When I'm talking and writing at the same time, it doesn't always end up well. Okay, then if you remember, however long ago in this video, when I was planning out the week, I kind of was like, I'm gonna put some of these here. Well, the irony is that time went away. I slept during that time. So I'm gonna prioritize now, what are the things that I 100% want to get to today? And those are the things that I'm gonna put in between call 1 and call 2. And really it's, how much time am I gonna end up having? This call's at 3:12, it's only 2 hours. So I'm gonna put 3 things, even though that last one may not actually happen. But the videos is the most important one that needs to get, like, of any of these things needs to get checked off today in the afternoon. And then I'll do my communication routine, and then I'll probably start on the event. And then I'll do this call at 3. And then I'll go ahead and put these other 2 things afterwards. We'll see how I feel. We'll see if I have the energy. We'll see what's going on. And if they don't end up happening, they don't end up happening. And we will update the rest of the week and the Kanban board as such. And then tonight, nothing. I have no plans. It's actually Halloween, but I celebrated all weekend, so no plans tonight. I wish we got trick-or-treaters, but we don't. And then I'll do my PM routine later this evening. And then all that is left are those little to-dos from here. So I need to water my plant. I need to update Calendly, and one other personal task. And I'm not putting these in the priority because they really, if they don't get done, like, it's not the end of the world, but they're 5-minute tasks that can easily happen during breaks throughout the day. I'm not gonna put either of those things yet since I'm already behind on today, but that is the plan for today. All right, it is the end of the day. Well, it's the end of the workday. So I'm gonna wrap up the daily planning process and show you kind of what happened today. I both did and didn't get as much done as I thought I was gonna get today. To explain, I remembered that there were a lot of like first of the month things I wanted to get to today, like the workout calendar, the wall calendar, and updating the budget. I actually have a whole video I did about all the things I do at the end of the month to prepare for a new month, and I had forgotten to put those in my planner today. So those took up a good bit of time. So I did, I'm gonna say only get to 8 Pomodoro cycles today, and this is what I have gotten done in terms of actual tasks. So the only one I didn't get to at all is the event, and then I only did 1 time block of font, and I had intended to do 2. And then actually same thing with the Black Friday. I only did 1. I had intended to do 2, but I feel good about the progress I made in that one. So you can see, like, I tallied the total here is 8, and then all 8 of them are documented somewhere here. These are the things I got done, but only a couple of these things did I actually like finish and fully check off. So now I'm gonna come over to my Kanban board, and what I do with the things I don't get done vary depending on a lot of factors. So the first thing I'm gonna do is move over the ones I did do. So I did do this one, and I probably will make these a little bit more organized and nice after I film this. Then this one I'm definitely gonna move down, but I get to check off one of these. This is really hard to do with the camera in my hand. Not my best check mark, but it's fine. So my goal is to do 8 at some point during the week, and today I did 1, so I'm just for sure moving that down. The Black Friday, I did do some today, but I knew I wasn't gonna finish. What was the other day? I had that scheduled for Thursday, so I'm gonna move that down to Thursday. Event stuff, this is the one thing I did not get to today, but it has to happen before this one. So I am gonna go ahead and move it to tomorrow, and I probably will like rearrange some stuff to make that a priority tomorrow. This one I did get done, and this one I did get done. So sometimes when I don't get them done, I'll move them to later in the week. Sometimes I will just put them back over here on this side. It kind of depends on what it is. But that's kind of the update of the Kanban board after today's progress. All right, I didn't actually get ready today, and it is a mess behind me, but I wanted to wrap up this video face-to-face and say that's it. I know it's a lot. Again, I'm not gonna include every day. So the rest of this week, I would go through that same process, right? A daily plan, updating that HB90, moving the stuff over on the Kanban board, and then at the end of the week, we do it all again, all the weekly setup, so on and so forth. Hopefully that whole process has shown you like how I plan my goals and my projects for business and my life basically. And then also shows you how much I have been valuing the HB90 system. Right now it's working for me. It is working for me. And if you are somebody who has, especially if you work for yourself, I highly recommend it. If you are somebody who has a side business and you are working on managing that around your life and your other goals, I also would highly recommend. Like I said earlier in the video, I think if you are just looking for a system for your personal goals, it might be a little bit much. It might be a little bit too overwhelming. Now, I know that Sarah does use it for her personal goals, and I know that some of you have shared with me that you also use it for your personal goals. It just might be a lot. Unless your goals are very task and project based, it just might be a lot. So I hope this was helpful in showing you my process and the system a little bit. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comments below. As of the day this video goes live, the course will be on sale very soon on December 1st. If you're watching it after that, it's on sale. I'm pretty sure she leaves it on sale from like the 1st of the month through the kickoff call, which is usually the second Sunday. As the time I'm filming this video, I don't know those dates 100%, but I will leave it linked down below. Usually it's the 1st of the month until some date that you can sign up for the course. I would 100% recommend the course if you're interested in trying the system. Okay, that is gonna be it. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching. Update my annual goals on a, I don't know why I'm being so awkward, which I've talked about before. Get a better estimate? That's not right. So the first thing I'm gonna do, I feel like I've said the first thing like 400 times. In November, that's wrong, like